Hello everyone, hope you're all having a nice day. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Chilling Reign leaks that have just happened from the Pokemon TCG website. These will be part of our Chilling Reign set, which is coming out next June. So going into some water types, which fits in with the Chilling Reign theme I guess, is we have the Ice Rider Calyrex V and Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. So the V is really nothing interesting. It's almost identical to Keldeo V in most respects, so really not impressive, but of course it is an evolving V, so that is to be expected. And the V Max is where things do start to get really interesting. I'm a big fan of this card. So 320 HP off the bat, pretty good. Resistance to... no, sorry, not resistance. Weakness to metal is pretty grim, but retreat cost of 2 is always nice with Air Balloon, and we do play Air Balloon a lot in Frostmoth. And then for either 2 color, so 2 water, so you do have an option. I would obviously just play this with, unless there was a DCE reprint, I would just say it's 2 water energy for both attacks. So great versatility. I'm glad they gave it 2 attacks instead of just 1. So Imperial Steed does 10 damage and then 30 more for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So a very similar attack to Zoroark in a way, the one that did 20 damage for each of your benched Pokemon. Everyone's a big fan of that. I mean, this can be regulated by the opponent, but if they go trigger happy or they have to play a lot of Crobats and Dedennes, then yeah, I really don't see how that's a bad attack. And it's also a surprisingly complementary attack to the second move. So the first one is definitely more of a finisher or soften up. So the second attack for 2 water energy does 10 damage, very underwhelming. But then you may discard up to 2 energy cards from his Pokemon. So it doesn't specify water just yet, but I would assume, with 2 water energy attached, you would be playing water with it. If you do, this attack does 120 more for each energy card discarded in this way. So if you discard 1, you're doing 130. If you discard 2, you're doing 250, which is an awful lot of damage. It's not really a one-hit kill in many instances, except on a Zacian. But really, it's a nice 2-hit KO that you can set up with Imperial Steed, because you can just hit them for 250 or 130 and then finish them off, depending on how the board state is looking. So I just really like the versatility in this card. I think it's pretty good. I know it's being overshadowed currently by the Psychic one, which is definitely one of the most broken cards I've seen in a long time. But this card is still really strong, and, people shouldn't forget about it just because the Psychic one is pretty busted. So going into the basic V, it has a pretty decent stalling attack actually, the Psychic one. Your opponent can't play any special energy or stadium cards is actually quite nice, and it's also pretty good against decks like Mad Party, for example. So you can kind of just deck them out by hitting 10 damage and stopping them from ever playing a twin energy, which is really annoying, but other than that, it's pretty mediocre. The second attack, which you can pay for pretty easily in this deck, as we'll get to in a second, put 5 damage counters on 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. Definitely a anti-Mad Party, anti-Snom kind of counter. Pretty nice. But the VMAX is where it's at, so 320 HP, a resistance to Urshifu, and you're hitting weakness on Urshifu as well, so definitely anti-Urshifu here. And weakness to Eternatus is a bit of a pain. But the ability is just absolutely crackers. So once in your turn, you may attach a Psychic Energy card from your hand to one of your benched Psychic Pokemon, then draw 2 cards. This is insane. This really is insane. So it's not saying you can use more than one, you can't use more than one Hellgate ability per turn. So you have to assume that, well, for the time being at least, if you have 4 of these out in play, you can use this ability 4 times during your turn. That's insane. Like, that is absolutely insane. That's accelerating 4 Psychic Energy to something on the bench. That has to be a Psychic Pokemon. And you're drawing 8 cards. Like, that's just insane. I mean, a couple of partners come to mind immediately. Urshifu and Dragapult, this could be a great tech card for that. You could play it with just Dragapult. You could play it with Alcremie VMAX. You could play it with Gardevoir VMAX. There's plenty of options. And this card is absolutely crazy. I can't stress, like, this ability will make this amazing, basically. Gmax Geist. I don't think that's the correct translation, but we'll just go with it. 3 colorless energy, so again, 3 psychic, Simitu, Astral Barrage, 10 damage, and then 30 more for each psychic energy attached to your Pokemon in play. So Alchemy VMAX was doing 60 times, but you had to discard them. This is doing 30 times, but you just have to be in play. So pretty easy attack to get going, especially when you consider you have this incredible ability that's going to be adding potentially 120 damage every turn. I mean, the odds of you ever getting enough energy to take a one-hit KO, I mean, even against something like an Urshifu, you still need about 5 or 6 energy to take a one-hit KO, so the attack is not brilliant, but if you're playing this with, per se, Cheryl, or if you're playing it with cheaper attackers like Dragapult, and this is a finishing move, then, you know, this card's amazing. I do think the water one is my favorite personally, but that's just because I'm a little bit biased, and I kind of prefer the artwork on the water one as well. But, you know, I think they're both incredible. So Cresselia is basically the spiritual reincarnation of Volcanion from Unbroken Bonds. And it's for psychic types. Yay. So Crescent Growth, search your deck for psychic energy and attach it to one of your Pokemon. And then of course, if you're going second, you can search your deck for 3 instead. It is literally just a carbon reprint of Volcanion pretty much. Photon Laser I think does a little bit more damage. Volcanion did about 110 I think. This is doing 120. Or I think this is doing more damage than Volcanion. I can't be sure, but basically 2 psychic energy, you can hit for 120, so you can set up this move kind of nicely, but you do need 5 or more energy in play, which is a lot, you know. It is asking quite a lot, to be fair, so I don't think the second attack is nearly as good as Volcanion's, just because you need so many energy in play just to make it work, but it's obviously this deck's answer to Decidueye straight off the bat, and it's obviously just really good in any other psychic deck, so even if you're not playing this Calyrex, then you can play as Gracilia, and it's absolutely broken, basically. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Melanie, attach a water energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon, so Pokemon V actually. So it's essentially an Aqua Patch, but then you draw 3 cards as well. So if you're playing Hop, which you probably will never play in your water deck, this is an option. I'm still not convinced if this is actually that good, because Nessa essentially just picks up 4 water energy in Pokemon in combination of from a discard pile. So I think Nessa is just the superior supporter card here. But if you want some energy acceleration to Pokemon V, and this doesn't actually say water Pokemon V, it just says Pokemon V. So in theory, you could use this to power up anything that needs water energy, and then you can draw 3 cards. So quite nice synergy with this guy, but also quite nice synergy with just any water Pokemon V, i.e. Blastoise, and helps you boost up attacks. So Fog Crystal, which looks like the stuff that fortune tellers use. Search your deck for either basic psychic Pokemon or psychic energy. Reveal it and put it in your hand. So this is essentially energy search and quick ball, but you have the option to use either one. So this is obviously, I mean, if you're playing a heavy psychic Pokemon deck like the Calyrex build, then this would be a 4 of in there. So not quite Mysterious Treasure, I don't think. I think Mysterious Treasure was just a little bit better, being able to discard a card that you didn't need and thin your hand out, but this is still really good and definitely playable. Next on to the arguably one of the most broken stadium cards we've seen in a while, or at least one of the most game-changing, hopefully. It's Path to the Peak. Mark my words, this will see play. Each pair's Pokemon in play with a rule box has no abilities. So everyone's talking about how absolutely broken this Calyrex is. Everyone's talking about how absolutely broken Corviknight VMAX is going to be eventually. But no one is talking about this. Now this is insane. Like, if you time this right and you get rid of your opponent's Chaotic Swell or its post rotation so they don't have it, then what is your opponent supposed to do? I mean, it's basically saying that this Calyrex deck, to have a chance against this, whatever this is playing, you need to play counter stadiums. So I do like that it's forcing this a very oppressive kind of archetype to counterplay, and I do appreciate that. So pretty good. I mean, it would obviously see play in a green stack maybe, or perhaps a Urshifu build. So you go back to playing Rapid Strike Urshifu, maybe with a Cincino engine, and you try and just outpace this Shadow Rider Calyrex because they can't use their ability, and that's kind of how you want it to go. So really strong stadium. I think I would have preferred if it was another stadium that maybe similar to Shrine of Punishment and how it behaved, but I will take this. This is good. At least it's not something stupid like search your deck for basic Pokemon, whatever. Like, you know, this is good. That's what we want to be seeing. So Old Cemetery, definitely a spooky kind of card, but very chilling atmosphere. I mean, I love the artwork on this. It's fantastic. Whenever a player attaches an energy card from a hand to one of their Pokemon, excluding Psychic Pokemon, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. So we've seen this kind of effect a lot, and those effects usually see play. The most immediate combo that comes to mind with this is Corsola V, and although it's not very competitive, if you have a Corsola V in the active, whenever they attach an energy, they take 3 damage counters. You can play that art result that says whenever they attach an energy, they take another 2 damage counters. So yeah, this is, I guess, designed for that kind of Corsola art result deck. I mean, you could put it in anything you want, really, as long as you're a Psychic type Pokemon. It's also essentially another Horror energy, so there's also that. So technically Dragapult could be buffed by this as well, so that's pretty cool. And I'm saying so a lot, but yeah, basically this looks to be an absolutely bonkers set. I mean, the rest of Chilling Reign compromises of stuff like Blaziken VMAX, which was revealed recently if you want to go check out that stuff on Poke Beach. But I mean, just both of these Calyrex are highly playable. I know people will overshadow this guy, but Max Lance, Imperial Steed's impressive. You can use Cheryl, you can use Melanie. Melanie is almost like a welder, but slightly nerfed. Fog Crystal is just fantastic consistency. Path to the Peak is disruption. Old Cemetery is great fun. Maybe not the most competitive card, but still quite fun. And then Gracilia can just help power up those Psychic decks that need it. So yeah, that'll be all for it to review. Be sure to let me know in the comment section. I'm hopefully doing another giveaway soon. And the next video should hopefully be Blue Charm. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.